Hey everyone, it's Cathy Zielske. Welcome back to my channel and the craft/dining room. Today's card project features a slimline stamp that's long and skinny with lots of detail, and I didn't want to take the time to color it all in. My solution? Stick around to find out. That video is coming up next. So here's a look at the card project I'll be creating today, and rather than spend all the time painting in all those charming little florals and leaves, I decided just to do a big old messy wash of distress inks using my paintbrush. It's such an easy thing to do, so let's jump in and take a look at the products I'll be using for this project. This stamp set is called Slimline Florals, and it is designed for a classic slimline card. So you've got this big, beautiful frame along with the strip, and you can purchase coordinating dies as well, and I will be using the one for the larger frame. So there's the stamps. I've got a rainbow of distress ink cubes, got a little bit of clear embossing ink, and two powders. I've got Sterling from Brutus Monroe and the Fine Detail White from Simon. I'll be using the Tim Holtz Distress Watercolor Cardstock, a brush, and a few other things as we go. So the first thing I have to do is get the stamp lined up as straight as possible onto my cardstock. And that cardstock fits right inside the MISTI. So I'll go ahead and rub my fingers over this stamp because this is the first time I've used it and I just kind of want to get any of that manufacturing coating off the stamp. I will powder this up with my embossing magic bag to remove static and oil. And then I'm going to ink up the stamp really well with the sticky clear embossing ink. Get that stamp nicely inked, bring it down, and I'll use my pressing Debbie tool. This just really helps me to press the MISTI door into my paper, and it keeps my wrists in a nice neutral position. No pain, all gain, or something like that. But I'm pressing that down, and I'm going to ink it up a second time. Beauty of the MISTI, right? Get a great impression right on top of the other. Just wanted to make sure that it was well inked. And now we'll take this out, and we will add embossing powder. Basically what I'm doing today is a simple emboss resist, right? Very simple. Gonna sprinkle on my white powder, just get a nice coating all over the framed image. And I'll just let that sit for a second, let it adhere to the embossing ink, and then just tap it off. Looks pretty good. I'll go ahead and sprinkle on just a little more powder. You know, I'm out here, I'm doing it, why not, right? Just get that perfect amount. I pretty much empty my whole jar, but it's fine too, because I just do this over the folded piece of paper, which I find to be the easiest way to do embossing powder, because then you just pick it up, you fold it in half, and you funnel it right back in. Now, I didn't quite tap it well enough because I'm going to have a bunch of powder fall off. It's not a big deal. I'm willing to lose a little powder, wipe it up with a Swiffer cloth, we're good to go. If there's any extra powder that sticks to your piece, you can always take a dry brush and just brush it away. Then get your heat tool nice and hot and work your way around the image. These larger images do take a little bit more time, but just go slow. And of course, make sure when you're done to check for any areas that don't look shiny. I always tip them in the light to see. And if I see any that look kind of dull, then usually that means I have not melted the powder in that particular part of the image. But this looked pretty good. And now we'll get ready to paint. I'm smushing my ink cubes into my little Art Impressions palette. Just going to get them all down there so that I have my 8 colors ready to go. And yes, I am including purple today. Clean water and clean water. One will be the clean and one will be the dirty. But I'm just going to get my brush wet, right? Got a little paper towel there to dab off on. Pick up some color and paint. This is literally the easiest painting you will ever do in your life. The classic emboss resist, especially using distress inks to do this. It's so fun. It's so easy. You don't have to let them dry in between, right? You're just gonna go right over with the next color. Just get your brush and dip it in the clean water. Pick up that next color and paint. You can do this with distress oxides as well. You're just gonna get a different look. It'll be just a little, maybe a little softer, maybe a little chalkier. You can also use any inks really that you have, anything you can smush down, right? Whether it's zig markers or whatever you have. The sky's the limit. Just work your way through the rainbow in order, laying down the color. And then once you get your colors laid down, and I'm kind of trying to overlap a little here and there, then I'm going to go back in and just sort of punch up any of the colors that I think could use, well, yeah, a lick and a promise, as they say. Look at that, squeezing purple in. We're almost off camera, so technically I still didn't give purple its proper love. But I love when Wilted Violet and Peacock Feathers overlap. It's gorgeous. So I'm going to pump up the Twisted Citron. I feel like it always needs a little bit of a bump. And really, I only have to focus on the framed area itself because the die is going to cut this out and the center won't even be part of this project. I could probably save the center for something else, but I probably won't. Fair warning. So we're going to pump everything up, and then as soon as I get this looking exactly how I like it, right, just going to set this aside to let it completely dry. And you definitely do want to let it dry. It takes a little bit, not too long, but I think that looks pretty. And now it's dry time. While that's drying, I'm going to create my card base. So this piece is 7 inches by 8.5, and I'll score it right at 3.5. Now you don't need a full-size score pal, I think the big one's called. You can just flip your cardstock just like I did and just score on the same line. And that way, if your cardstock is larger than your score buddy, easy peasy and breezy, right? So I'll set that aside. Now that this is dry, I've got this taped into place, the little coordinating die, and I'm just going to run it through the Platinum 6, going back and forth here, coming out once, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to go back one more time just because this cardstock is a little thicker, and then I'm going to pop out the frame. Could not be easier, right? Get that tape up. And here's the thing too, I didn't have this perfect, like it's not a perfectly lined up die, but honestly, you're not going to even notice because I think just the whole design of this thing with the frame and the florals is so pretty. Even if it's not perfectly lined up, it still looks fantastic. So to place my sentiment, I'll bring that frame in just to visualize where the so much thanks is going to go, because I thought that would look really cute with this, right? Making sure that's lined up, picking that up with the Misty Door. And then I'll go ahead and prep this little area, again, with the powder, and then ink up the stamp with the clear ink and give that a nice press. And I'm going to sprinkle on the sterling silver powder here because I thought this would look really nice. I love silver on white. I think it's a really elegant look. We'll go ahead and tap that off. I'll brush away also any excess powder just to make sure it's all just on the so much thanks. And then I'll go ahead and melt this powder. Now, here's where I started to get a little panicky because I don't usually emboss right onto my card base, but when I folded this down, I tried to flatten it, right? But it instantly had a bit of a warp, and I was like, I'm not sure how we're gonna fix it. Looks good, but we're gonna set that aside, and I put it in a book, hoping that it would, flatten out and look great. In the meantime, I put foam squares on the back, but when I took it out of the book, it was still warped. So I thought I would give this tip a try, right? People tell me to do this sometimes, where you just put a piece of cardstock on top of your card and run it through. It was kind of hard to get it going, right? Ran it through a few times, and honestly, it was still warped. So I stuck it back in a book. I left it in there for an hour. Not kidding you. I thought I'll do something else while I'm waiting. And that something else was to create a coordinating envelope. Simon Says Stamp has these really cute sort of coin pocket style, slimline sized envelopes. And what I'm going to do here is just have part of that floral strip hanging off the edge. Doesn't even matter that it's outside of the Misty, because I'm going to press really hard just here on the envelope edge, especially where the edge is, and then sprinkle on some silver powder, because I thought this would be a really cute way to create a nice visual connection from the outside of the envelope to the actual frame that surrounds my greeting in the card. And I didn't get a great impression there, but honestly, I think for the outside of the envelope, if you don't nail it, don't worry about redoing it. You don't want to waste the envelopes. and it's got to go through the mail anyway. But that's still pretty dang cute, am I right? All right, after an hour, the card base did seem flat. So I just, I try going through the die cut machine, but it does not always flatten the way I'd hoped. But I got all of the backers off and just popped that frame. Oh, isn't that cute? I love this. You know what it's time for next? A little shine all over with some lovely confetti here. And I put more on than I usually do, but here we go. Little dab, boop, little dab, boop. It's boop, boop. I don't normally speed up the sequence, boop, boop. I just had to speed it up. Because I put so many sequins on, there really isn't time to slow down and really give the proper boops. But look at this crystal katana. Boop, rocking it. Oh, and there you go. And that's the finished card project. I love slimline cards. I think the size is fun and unexpected. And of course, having a coordinated envelope, well, that doesn't suck. Thanks so much for watching. You can find all the supplies linked below the video. And I will see you back here with another card project soon. Thanks so much for watching today. I would love to have you become a subscriber to my YouTube channel. And if you do subscribe, be sure to hit the gray bell below the video so that you don't miss the next time I post. Here are a couple other videos that you might be interested in watching. Thanks so much and have a great day.